Hey everyone, welcome to another Polars tutorial. Today I'll be starting a two-part series on string manipulation in Polars using Polars methods. And as we can see when you look at this documentation page here, there are a whole bunch of methods that are built into Polars to help us manipulate string data and get the best results. Given that there's so many of them, I certainly will not be going over all of them. I'll just be going over the ones that I find myself using the most and just kind of show you what I do. And a big caveat with all this, there's a million and one different ways to manipulate string data. So anything I show you here, you can be sure there's probably like 5 or 6 different ways to do it. But that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So here's a sample data we'll be using: just a first name column, a last name column, and then a messy pin column, a personal identification number column, with just some invalid characters that we can practice cleaning up and identifying. So a quick caveat with string manipulation in Polars: if you come from something like pandas or maybe or just Python in general, you need to remember that Polars is coded in Rust, and that's a big caveat. And so what that means is that Polars is not built on top of Python. It's built on top of Rust. So a lot of what you see when you program in Polars is a Rust implementation of everything. And so it's a best practice to just avoid using Python string methods on Polars data frames. You want to use those methods that are built into Polars, and that'll get you the best results, and that'll make sure that your data doesn't come out of the Rust level and is forced into the Python level or anything like that, which will dramatically inflate your memory. And so in this video, I'll cover 5 topics. I'll talk about concatenating strings. So this is more beginner level stuff. Actually, all this is kind of beginner level. String manipulation is made very easy in Polars, but just what I think of as the easier issue. So concatenating strings, changing the casing of strings, so going from lowercase to uppercase, title case, that kind of thing. Getting the length of a string, so the number of characters. Searching for strings within a string. And then removing invalid characters from a string. And that's where we'll try to clean up this messy pin that we have here. Okay, so let's get right into it. So first we'll talk about concatenating the first and last name. And now let's go ahead and get rid of this guy just to kind of exemplify something. First we'll talk about concatenating the first and last name to create a full name column. So just both the names in one field, and we'll just call it full name. And so we'll go ahead and run that. But in terms of the syntax, the way you do it is you just do pl or polars.concatString. So that's the name of the method. And then within the method, you just write in the column names you want, and Polars will proceed to join and concatenate them. So we will just go ahead and run that and see how that looks. There we go. Okay, so you see that our concatenation was successful, but there's no space between the first and last name. So to get that space in here, all we need to do is add an additional argument. I had it in there before, but we want to use pl_lit, which means literal value, and we want to just add in a blank space. And so the reason why we need to use pl_lit, this is true across a lot of Polars methods, quoted text is parsed as a column name. So when it sees this first name, it's not going to think, well, that's a literal value first name. It's going to look for a column called first name. When it sees pl_lit, that tells Polars it's a literal value. So if we just go ahead and run that one more time, our full name should be looking just a lot better, and it most certainly is. And so second, we'll see how to change the full name to uppercase and to get the number of characters in a string, or the string length. And so again, with a lot of string manipulation, we're going to be dealing with new methods. And so the 2 methods we're going to use here is to change it to uppercase. We start out by just referencing the column, so pl call full name, and then the string namespace, and then dot to uppercase. And so that's the uppercase method. And then we'll keep it the same name, just full name. And I'm showing how to turn it to uppercase here, but the 2 other methods available are 2 lowercase and then 2 title case. And title case corresponds to what we had before. So just when the first and last name or when the first character of each word is capitalized, that is title case. And then to get the length of a string, you do dot string and then len cars. And then we're going to actually create a new column for that, and we'll just call it name length. All right, there we go. So our data is now capitalized, and we have a indicator column telling us the length of that string. So pretty simple. Okay, and so finally we'll get to maybe a slightly more advanced area, actually searching for strings within a string. And so let's say, we want to get rid of these invalid characters here, these characters that we don't like, these non-numeric special characters. Like, how can we search for those? So there's a couple different ways to do this. I like using string.containsAny. And contains_any, what that will do is you insert in a Python list or just a list. And a list is just, things between a set of brackets. And within that list, we just pass in, some quoted items that we want to search for. In this case, I'm searching for all these special characters. And these special characters are just the characters on the number line of your keyboard. And so we're going to search for an exclamation point, a @ symbol, a pound symbol, tic-tac-toe symbol. And we'll create a new column for this just called check. And so what this contains_any is going to do is it's going to return a Boolean. So true if it finds any instances of any of these, and false if it can't find that. So we'll run this to just kind of see how things are working. So here's our messy pen column, and we have trues and falses, and we can see in any instance where it's true, we see an instance of these special characters in our string that we want to get rid of. So if we wanted to get really fancy, we could nest this within a PL_when and just kind of do some data cleaning all in one, but I'm bracketing off the steps here just so we kind of just take it one step at a time. And so then we get to the issue of like, well, how do we remove these? So again, there's a couple ways to do this. I like using replace many, and what replace many does is it's a string method. So there's going to be 2 arguments in here, and so in the first argument you put in the list of characters that you want to search for, and so in this case we're going to search for those invalid characters that we saw before. And in the second argument, and you put those in a list. And in the second argument, you put in the replacement character. So whenever it finds an @ symbol, we're going to replace it with this. And in this case, we're just putting in a null space or a blank space. If we wanted to, we actually could put in a replacement. So let's say anytime we saw one of those, we wanted to put in like a 1. Like, we could absolutely do that if we wanted to, but here we're just trying to get rid of those characters altogether. And so we'll print this out. We'll print out the messy pen, the check, and then the clean pen. So replace many is a very powerful tool. I love using replace many. Okay, there we go. We see our clean pen, and we see in these instances of true, they no longer have those special characters. Okay, guys, so that's a brief introduction to cleaning string data in polars. I'll be back with another video soon enough to talk about some more methods. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed yourself.